Hey guys, Strider here, and in this video I will be showing you my solo fight against the updated Ragetail Gnasher in patch 0.4.0, the current open beta patch. I will talk about the new changes to his abilities, show you how I tried tackling them, and give you tips and tricks on how to solo him yourself. Firstly, however, please remember to thumbs up this video if you have liked it or it helped you, comment on it if you have something to say or give out feedback, share it as you see fit, and do not forget to follow me on Twitch and subscribe to my channel for more Dauntless content in the links down below. Many people asked and commented on my previous Ragetail videos that there were changes to him in open beta, and the videos were not fully accurate. I agree with that and apologize for them not being proper, but they were created with the patch just before open beta and were scheduled for upload just a few days before it hits. But I am now going to correct and update everything. Firstly, the gear I used for fighting him was a fully upgraded +4 Stormclaw gear. I would highly recommend to use either Stormclaw or Carabac armor because of their high armor rating. Also, if you have gotten bloodless cells, put as many as you can in your gear because they will surely help you survive. My weapon of choice was a fully upgraded +4 Naizaga sword. With the buff to frost weapons, a Pangar weapon is also a good option for this guy, since the frost debuff increases your survival chances by a lot. Stormclaw weapon is also a good viable option and has a tiny bit more damage than Naizaga. Finally, if you want the most amount of damage, then pick up a maximum upgraded Carabac weapon. It will also significantly increase the number of parts you can destroy on him before killing him. Which weapon type you use is up to you. I have not tested him with any weapon besides the sword, but I am positive that if you're good with your weapon, you can do him with any weapon, although some will take more time than others. If you're going for a Naizaga or Stormclaw weapon, remember to also use a Drask Lantern so that you can shock stagger him faster. If you're going for a Pangar weapon, then get your Pangar Lantern. Regarding the changes to his abilities, Ragetail has a few new tricks up his sleeve. The first one is that his tail swipes will now inflict wounded debuff. As mentioned in my Carabac video, the wounded debuff will deal a good amount of damage to you once you run out of stamina. It can also stack multiple times and it's possible to one-shot you. The way to deal with it is by either waiting for the debuff to expire and not allow your stamina to hit 0, or by using an Ether heal or a healing potion. There is also a way to disable the wounded damage. That is by having a +3 bloodless stat. The reason I recommended adding bloodless cells to your gear was because of this. If you have a +3 bloodless stat, you will be immune to wounded debuff, but even if you have a +1 or a +2, it still helps you since it will significantly reduce the time needed for the debuff to expire. The second major change is the addition of shockwaves to a lot of his abilities. Ragetail will shoot shockwaves from his body whenever he does his tail slam, his stomp, his overhead tail slam, which can also be called body slam, and when he goes into enrage mode. The distance the shockwaves travel is not very big, but considering you have to be near the behemoth to damage him, it can be very tricky to evade them. Evading the shockwaves when he goes in enrage mode are the easiest ones. You just move away from him until he fully enters enrage. By doing Ragetail a single time, you will be able to measure how far away from him you need to be in order to be safe from the shockwaves, or you can just see in this video for reference. Be careful because the shockwaves alternate their direction from straight lines facing his legs to any random direction outwards of Ragetail. Evading the shockwave from his tail slam is second easiest, since the shockwaves will always travel in a direction behind Ragetail. Even though the shockwave tracks the player for a certain amount, it cannot go in a direction where his head is facing. It will always travel in the direction his tail is and a little bit to the left and right. Because of this, I suggest you roll towards his front body or head when you see him jumping for a tail slam. You can also roll straight and diagonally from his leg, which will again keep you safe. Practice this a couple of times to get the hang of it. The shockwave which he does from his stomp is second most difficult to deal with. The reason is that the range of which the shockwave can spawn and travel increases compared to the ones from his tail slam. They will however never go in a direction to the front of him. Imagine a line starting from his left leg going to his right leg, which separates his body in two. The shockwaves will at most spawn alongside that line and will follow it. They can also spawn and go in a direction behind that line. If it's hard to understand what I'm trying to say, watch the video and remember that if he stomps, you have to roll towards his head at the last possible moment or double roll for safekeeping, since there is no way the shockwave can travel towards his head direction. Finally, you have the hardest one to evade, which is the shockwave from his overhead tail slam. This shockwave can travel in any direction and I recommend to best use 2 rolls to evade it. The first roll should be when you see him ducking to jump. Use this roll to distance yourself from him. Then, after the shockwave spawns and goes in your direction, use the second one to evade it. You can also try to evade with sprinting to either side of the shockwave. When Ragetail goes in rage mode, he still does his signature multiple tail slams ability. Those will also cause shockwaves. My method of dealing with this, be it solo or in a group, is to sprint and roll either only clockwise or counterclockwise. If you're fast enough, you may be able to evade everything with 1-2 rolls and sprinting. Now that I have explained these changes, it is time to tell you my overall strategy and idea of dealing with him. The main idea is the same as my last videos. You first go and destroy his tail. This will disable all his tail swipes and one of his tail slams. That way you are sure to reduce the amount of damage he does and disable the possibility of him putting a wounded debuff on you. It will also disable the single slide ability and cause him to only do the 4-way slide. I should also tell you that you can buff his slide. It is possible to do it with a sword right click, hammer blast, fully charged axe strike, warpike range attack, as well as using the sword special ability and chain blades right click when you have a +6 weighted stat bonus. Afterwards, it's up to you to decide which abilities you would rather have him do more often. If you stay in front of him and near his head, he will mostly do charge and overhead tail slam, with the occasional stomps, but since you're in front of him anyways, they will not damage you. The other option is to stick near his legs and mostly deal with stomps and their shockwaves. Both options are easy once you do him a couple of times. The best of both worlds is to stick and attack his legs until you get one of them down, so you get a guaranteed wood drop, and then go for his head so that you can get all the drops at least once. Talking about drops, it is possible to kill him with all body parts destroyed, but until you learn the fight, I suggest to not go for that, but rather go for safe kills. He has the same drops as the normal Gnasher, which are both his legs, his tail and his head. You can also destroy his arms for extra staggering. I will mention in detail what each part can drop in the upcoming Ragetail's abilities guide video. After you get your first kill, I highly suggest to craft as many armor pieces of his armor as possible. This will make it a lot easier to farm him and any other behemoth in tier 5 and tier 6. What I define as tier 5 and tier 6 are the Maelstrom behemoths and their heroic versions. After you get the full armor set, you can then craft his weapons to make the fights faster. From then on, it is up to you how to proceed with the drops from him. In my solo progression, I usually go and upgrade everything from Ragetail to +5, then I start doing him on heroic and upgrade to +10, which gives me a good enough gear to tackle any other tier 5, tier 6 and tier 7 behemoth. My fight against him did not take long with the gear I used. It was a little more than 12 minutes, but I think I could have done it faster and more safer. That's about it regarding Ragetail Gnasher in patch 0.4.0. If I missed anything or you think that there is something I should cover more in depth or have not given enough attention in this video, then please leave a comment to tell me. Thumbs up the video if you have liked it or it has helped you in some way. Share it as you see fit. And lastly, do not forget to follow me on Twitch and subscribe on YouTube at the links below for more Dauntless content.